I went out to the range today and did some testing on the Alliant Steel powder that I used to load up some of these shotgun shells, and what I did find is the speeds were reasonable. They weren't lightning fast, but they were reasonable. I tested goose loads and duck loads. I'm out here today testing some of the Alliant Steel loads that I've loaded up, trying to get some decent speeds out of the 2 3/4 inch shells. The first one I'm going to be shooting is a once fired Chite hull. It has 30 grains of Alliant Steel, a TURPW12 wad, and 1 1/8 ounce of BBs. (1,399 feet per second, 1,399 feet per second. So this is actually a really decent looking load. Again, I like the speed on it, and the pattern looks really nice. This next shell is loaded into a once fired Chite hull with a Chite primer. It has 30 grains of Alliant Steel, a TPS wad with 1 1/8 ounce of BBs. That is 1,295 feet per second, 1,295 feet per second. It's actually looking like a very nice pattern. Most of them are up on the top piece of cardboard with just a little bit down on the bottom. This is a once fired Federal hull loaded with 34 grains of Alliant Steel with a TPS wad and 1 1/8 ounce of number 5 shot. So that one was a little bit slower, 1331, 1,331 feet per second. So this one here was actually loaded with BBs. I was thinking this was the load I had loaded with number 5 steel. So this is the BB load, and actually has a pretty solid pattern. Again, this one was loaded with 34 grains of steel, Alliant Steel, with a TPS wad and 1 1/8 ounce of BBs. This here is a once fired Federal hull with 28 grains of steel, Alliant Steel, and a TPS wad with 1 1/8 ounce of number 5 shot. (1,361 feet per second, 1,361 feet per second. So that's a very nice pattern. Again, those are number 5s at 30 yards. This load is in a once fired Federal hull with 30 grains of Alliant Steel and a TPS wad with 1 1/8 ounce of number 5s. 1,387 feet per second, 1,387 feet per second. It's going to be another very nice pattern. I'm now going to test some 3-inch shells that I reloaded. These are loaded in a once fired federal hull. It has 33 grains of Alliant Steel with a TPS wad and 1 ounce and 1/8. So the original load on this one called for 36 grains of Alliant Steel. I'm backing it down because the pattern was very poor. The speeds were pretty decent, but the patterns were poor. So I'm backing it down to 33. The next one's gonna have 34. So I'm just curious if I can find that happy medium to get some speeds in the 3-inch shells and then also maintain a reasonable pattern. Speed on that one was 1,427 feet per second, 1,427 feet per second. It's loaded with number 5 steel. That is going to be a really nice pattern. It's covering the whole sheet of paper, but also it's got really no gaps in between any of the BBs.